Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In case you are new here, my name is Ankita. I live in Manchester, UK, and I make videos about beauty and wellness. In today's video, I want to talk about something I'm asked very often, and that is how do you stay calm all the time? How do you manage negative emotions, and how do you manage stress? Now, before I go into some of my coping strategies, I just want to say I'm not calm all the time. I do get stressed, I do get anxious, but what you see on social media, and not just for me, for anyone, it's just a small portion of someone's life. So don't compare yourself to someone else thinking, oh, they've got it all together, how are they so calm, why am I not able to do that? Don't do that to yourself, please. Now, the one quality I find very important to cultivate is resilience, and resilience is your ability to bounce back from any setback. So cultivating resilience is something that can work not only in these times where we're struggling with the pandemic, but any time in your life where you are going through periods of stress or trauma. Now, the wonderful thing about resilience is that it's not something you're born with. It's not something which either you have it or you don't. It's actually something you can cultivate and develop over time. Just like working a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. Now, when I was making my notes for this video, I was just listing down all the things that I do when I want to feel better, when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling stressed or anxious, and I began to see a pattern, and this pattern was putting things into 4 categories. The first one is avoidance. An example of this is avoiding the triggers. For example, if consuming a lot of media or news upsets you, limiting or eliminating, basically avoiding this trigger. So the first one was avoidance. The second thing was acknowledgement and acceptance. Now, this for me is accepting and acknowledging that I may not be very productive during this time, and accepting it that it is okay. A period of not being super productive doesn't make me lesser of a person. It doesn't lessen my worth, and just acknowledging and accepting that is something that has really helped me. The third category I saw was distraction, and a very simple example of this is watching a TV show, watching Netflix, watching a movie. And the fourth category was release. So the coping strategies I'm going to talk about may not be applicable to you. Like, you may not do the exact same activity, but if you put it in any of these 4 categories to achieve the desired result, it's going to greatly help you. So let's go over these strategies in a little more detail. Number 1 is avoidance. Now, you can't run away from your thoughts and your feelings, but you can limit your exposure to things that trigger you, that make you upset, that make you anxious. And a big part of this is consuming media. If watching a lot of news is something that's making you really anxious, limit the consumption of news, limit it to maybe 30 minutes a day. And the thing is, it doesn't really make a difference whether you're following the news the entire day or whether you just catch up with the events of the day in the evening. So it doesn't make a big difference. You still know what's going on. But instead of subjecting yourself to an entire day of feeling triggered by what you're seeing and hearing, you're limiting it just to a short window of time. Avoidance is not just limited to media we consume. This could also be people around us. So if we have someone in our lives who's not really adding anything positive, adding to more of the stress, adding to a lot of anxiety, it's completely okay to distance yourself from them. Let's talk about category number 2, and this is acknowledgement and acceptance. Now, this is purely a mental activity. There's no actual physical thing you do when you're talking about acknowledging a situation and accepting it. But this is probably one of the most powerful tools you can use in order to come to terms with what is going on. I think for me, back and forth throughout the last year and this year as well, there was a lot of pressure that I was putting on myself, that I wanted to be working more, I wanted to be productive, I wanted to work harder, and I was starting to feel like the way I have been these last few months, that's not really me. I'm not being myself. And just that expectation was making me so anxious, and was also limiting how much I could work, because I was constantly fearful that if I'm not meeting my own standards, I'm somehow failing. So acknowledging that everyone has gone through, not just me, in the last year, is not normal circumstances where people can thrive. So it's completely okay if you are not performing to what you would consider your usual standard. And this is something that I need to remind myself of continuously, because it's very hardwired that I always want to be very productive, working very, very hard, not really taking many breaks. And when I take a break, I feel really guilty for taking time off. So this has been a pretty challenging exercise, but just reminding myself that this does not define me. The number of hours I work or how much output I produce is not the only factor that decides who I am. And accepting that and not worrying so much about productivity has really, really helped bring down my stress. Category number 3 is distraction. Distraction can be a pretty useful tool, but it's not a sustainable one. But short term, it does help you feel better. So I find that if I can find a nice movie or a book that engages me completely, so that I really don't have any room for thought about other things, it can be sort of a really good escape for a couple of hours to be completely immersed into something fictional. And like I said, it could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be a TV show. And when you can't really think of anything else, or you don't have the energy to try one of your other coping strategies, this works as well. But like I said, it's not sustainable. You can't just be distracting yourself constantly from negative feelings, which brings me to the 4th category, and that is release. Now this is the most important coping strategy, and release is simply that you find an outlet to let out all the negative emotion that you're feeling. One of the best ways is engaging your body. So movement, taking a walk, which I love to do, stretches. Like a lot of days I don't do a proper yoga flow, but I just do some really good stretches, and it makes me feel better. Other things in this can include doing some kind of creative activity, because being creative also releases a lot of tension. Playing with animals. If you are lucky to have a pet, spending time with them is another form of release, and it fires up all those positive circuits in the brain when you're playing with your pet. Another release coping strategy that really helps me is cleaning and organizing my physical space. It's something I love to do whenever I'm feeling a bit stressed. I want to clean my room, I want to reorganize things, I want to move my furniture around, and it's actually become one of my favorite activities to release stress and get my mind to a calmer state. Another way of release, and this kind of ties in with avoidance. So when I talked about limiting your consumption of news or media to 30 minutes a day, you can call this your worry time. Now this is when you can consume the news, consume media, and you give yourself permission to actually worry about everything that you're worried about. This can also be in the form of journaling, because when you write it down, it is a release. So you can tie in avoidance and release, the two activities together, and schedule a certain time in the day where you confront everything that you've been avoiding, and then find a way to release it. Using a systematic relaxation procedure. I know it sounds like it's very technical, but this could simply be a guided meditation. Because it's systematic, it's something that you can very easily follow, and you don't have to think too much. You can just be a follower in this case. Another way is a body scan, and this is something you can do several times a day. You can put a reminder in your phone to do it maybe after every meal. And a body scan is simply scanning your body for how you're feeling, how you're holding yourself. It's just bringing awareness back to your body. You could be holding your shoulders really tightly, so if you just unclench that, you might start feeling just a little bit better. You may be holding your jaw really tightly, so just loosening your jaw muscles may bring down that stressful energy. I also like creating lists. Once I commit everything I have to do, or everything that may be on your mind, if you just put it down in a list form, it just gives it structure, order, and a category. So I find that really relaxing. Again, all of these may not work for you, but if you just examine these categories, I'm sure you can find at least one activity for each of these which can work wonders for you. And this brings me to the final coping strategy, and this is something that is not that easy to do, and it's something that it's a bit more long term. It's not something that gives you instant release, and that is limiting and breaking unhealthy habits. This could be in the form of unhealthy eating habits, poor lifestyle, poor sleeping habits, alcohol, smoking, or unhealthy emotional patterns. So like I said, breaking these is really hard, and what really works is if you repeat the desired behavior, a healthy habit, over and over, you will build that as a new habit, and the lesser you do this older unhealthy habit that you want to get rid of, you're going to break that pattern. So like I said, this is not the easiest thing, but it's the thing that gives you the most long-term benefits. And this brings us to the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful. Do remember the 4 categories we talked about. The first one is avoidance. The second is acknowledgement and acceptance. The third one is distraction, and the fourth one is release. If you want to really benefit from this video, I would urge you all to take out your notebook, take out your pen or pencil, draw 4 columns and write down at least one activity in these 4 categories that you can do to cope with stress and negative emotions. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and make sure you hit the bell icon so that you're notified every time I put up a new video. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all soon in my next video. Bye.